on Coleman. Count on Coleman. If your world is looking strange, you can count on Coleman for change.
Hi, Baton Rouge. District 10 especially, the best district I know. I'm here today and I welcome you to the Coleman Cares podcast, where we do our best to educate people. It's very important that you know, you're aware, you raise your level of awareness with all things. And so that's the purpose of this podcast. And let me tell you about today. I have a gentleman with me who can definitely raise folks' awareness. He's just that smart, people. And so we have Mr. Davante Lewis. And what he's going to talk about today is whatever he wants. He's just that kind of guy. But when we talk about power coalition, I don't know no one who, or that should be anyone, proper English, I don't know anyone who doesn't want some power. And if you want power, you must build a coalition. And so I thank you. I thank you for coming here today to share with Baton Rouge, to include all of the districts, because all districts need to know. And so what's the mission of the Power Coalition? Mr. Dante, talk to us today. This your show. You do what you want to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Coleman. Yes, so the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice was founded by our CEO, Ashley Shelton. And the entire point of the organization was about to build political power in the state of Louisiana, particularly trying to find Black and brown voters who are infrequent voters and ensure that they know they have a voice and a mission in our electoral process. So the Power Coalition is active in registering voters, getting voters out to the polls, sharing public information on policy that is happening at the city, state, and federal level, as well as constant organizing, because we know one thing we shouldn't do is just knock on your door on election day, but we need to be making sure that we are connecting with you every day to understand all of the power that you hold. I like to say your voice is your vote and your vote is your power. And when you elect someone, you are just lending your power to someone to enact policies that you want. So we want to remind people all the time of the power that they have in their individual vote.
Wow, I love that. Lending your power. That's deep. Mm-hmm. But I knew I was going to get some deep stuff here today, because this gentleman is deep. And so some of the events that the Power Coalition, talk to me about some of the events that you've had to allow you to establish or to actuate your mission.
Absolutely. So the Power Coalition, we have done, work, we can go all the way back to the census. We did a lot of training around the 2020 census. We then do tables at multiple community events where we give people voting registration and information. We are in election season right now,
yes.
So we would put out a sample ballot for individuals. If you ever need a ride to the polls, we either bus, Uber, Lyft, and we'll come pick you up and take you back home to make sure that you can participate in our process. And so what we've been doing recently right now is these mass mobilizations around redistricting. It's been a very hot topic.
Yes.
The governor on Friday just called the legislature back into session starting this Thursday. To change election dates, or we don't really know what he wants to do yet because he hasn't said so. So we're going to have a mass mobilization fighting for fair maps to ensure that we continue to have our maps that are fair and just and give everybody the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. So we are going to be on the steps of the Capitol on Thursday at 1 p.m., an hour before they gavel in, and then there will be a lot more events as the session goes on. So if you follow the Power Coalition on Facebook or Instagram, we push those messages out every time we're going to host an event. But and we're not just here in Baton Rouge. We are in New Orleans. We are in Shreveport. We're in Alexandria. We're in Lake Charles. We are across across the state. So if you have family and friends in other parts of the state, they can also reach out to Power Coalition because we have a statewide presence.
Wow. And I know that you all were instrumental in getting some information out about the Calais case. Talk to the folk about that and let them know what that is, what it entails, and how it affects us.
Absolutely. So the Calais case was argued before the Supreme Court last week. And this case stems from a redistricting effort here. The Power Coalition, along with the state chapter of the NAACP and 8 individual plaintiffs led by Dr. Press Robinson, and myself was one of the plaintiffs as well, sued the state of Louisiana in 2021 after they created a new map that didn't fairly represent Black Louisianians. That was known as the Robinson case. The district court found that the state of Louisiana did not district correctly and violated the Constitution in diluting the Voting Rights Act. And so we continued that process. When the governor came in 24, he called the legislature back into session. They redrew a map that created 2 majority districts, Congressman Carter, that stretches from New Orleans all the way to Iberville Parish, and then now Congressman Cleo Fields, who represents this part of Baton Rouge all the way up to Shreveport following the Red River. After that map was enacted, there was a new lawsuit filed, by these people who called themselves non-Black voters, and they were led by Calais. And they sued the state of Louisiana, saying that the new map that had 2 Black majority districts violated their constitutional rights, and that it was redistricting based off of race. And so that case, it was before the Supreme Court in March of this year. This summer, the Supreme Court did one of the rarest things they ever do, and they asked for a rehearing of those arguments. So we had a rehearing on last Wednesday, and we are expecting a decision anytime between now and spring of what they will do. This case is monumental because this case is not just about Louisiana.
Yes.
This case is now about whether or not the Voting Rights Act, which just made 60 years old this year, is constitutional. And we are seeing the people on the Supreme Court trying to change the Voting Rights Act and eliminate it. So this is going to be massive because I don't think people recognize that this means school board districts, legislative districts, parish and county commission seats on the Public Service Commission. Your seat could all be up for grabs and changed if we lose the Voting Rights Act under Section 2. And that's what they are attempting to do in this Calais case.
And with that being said, it is imperative that we get up and we go out to vote. I mean, it's no other way to get around these kind of things. And what I like about the Power Coalition is I know that the young people were concerned about not being involved, and you all just reach right out and pull them in, and now they have an intricate part in getting out here, registering folk, going to speak out, and that is of utmost importance. So talk about leave no child behind. Nobody is being left behind. So we do not have an excuse as to not going out to vote. And you are correct. This not just a Louisiana thing. This will affect every and all of us. And that is of utmost importance that you all do that. Get out the vote. And so you all have just come out of that campaign, and then you all will be going into a campaign, and that will be, that will be
this Fight for Fair map. So while we are waiting, as you've probably heard, the president has been calling governors and legislators across the country to find him seats in Congress. And what we've been told is they are potentially looking to take away either Congressman Fields' district or Congressman Carter's district, or both. We've even heard rumors of trying to eliminate both Black majority seats.
Yes.
And so what we are doing now is, as the legislature comes back, they are saying right now that they don't plan to redraw the map, but we don't know if that's going to be the truth. And we want to keep a fair and just map that recognizes all of us. So we are going to be mobilizing and organizing on this mass mobilization on the start of the legislative session. That's on Thursday, but throughout, the governor gave them till November 13th. So we can't sleep because we never know when they're going to pull the trigger, when they're going to move a bill forward. And we want to ensure that the rights that we have, our power, right, is our vote. And we want to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to vote and vote in districts where they get to elect a candidate of their choice. And so this is our new campaign now. We are still fighting for these maps. It's been 5 long years that we've been in this process, but we have watched generation to generation. I mean, what we did and found out is Dr. Preston Robinson, who was the first black member of the school board here in EBR,
Yes.
he's our lead plaintiff in this case. Dr. Robinson was born he was 28 years old when the Voting Rights Act was signed into law. And then I was born 28 years later. So this shows you that this is a multi-generational fight that we are doing and continuing to live on.
And because you understand what it is and the importance of it, you are deeply involved. And I say that to say the young people, and even some of the not so young, need to understand the importance of all of this. And so you're definitely looking for as many folk as will come on Thursday on the Capitol steps there, and we need you. No vote, no voice, no voice, no vote, no show up, then shut up. And that's
Right.
it there, you
Right.
know. And so, and then you sit and you think about how long we've been fighting for what should be a given, a given. We fought in the beginning to be able to just vote. Some unfair things that we were asked to do, some unfair things that were imposed upon us, but we pressed through and we got to. And so now here we are, still fighting for something that just it's just the right thing to do. And I often wonder if that shoe was on the other foot. How would that be accepted, handled, or how would they feel about this? So I hope, it is my fervent prayer that some consciousness will just sit on some of the stuff, and especially of what they're trying to do, and that right will prevail.
Right.
That is of utmost importance. And so, yes, so we know that the real power is the volunteers and those who take action. So you just mentioned one way about Thursday at the Capitol at 1 o'clock, and they even giving you transportation. All you have to do is sign up. The QR code that's being shown there to get a ride. And so, I mean, it can't be made any easier than this. What else would you recommend that people do? Come on Thursday, register to vote, and not only register, they've got to vote.
They've got to vote.
They've got to vote. Just registering is not enough. And that age that you register to vote, you must be.
Got to be 18 to vote, but you can register at 17.
There you go. You definitely can. And so I say that because we have a young man here that's on the sidelines in the studio, and he must know that. And the importance of that. And voting is not just a Louisiana thing. So if you leave Louisiana, but I hope you wouldn't, know that voting is of utmost importance wherever you go when you strike that magic 17 and then ready to vote at 18. One of the best feelings that you can have. And so, Power Coalition, let's your email address, the
Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple ways to get involved with the Power Coalition. You can, one, as Councilwoman Coleman just talked about, our mass mobilization, but like I said, our work is year round. So if you are ever in need of a sample ballot, or you need to figure out where your polling location is, you can go to the Power Coalition's website at powercoalition.org. We also have ways that you can volunteer. We need canvassers. We need phone bankers to get out the vote, and so you can volunteer your time that way. But you can also find countless amount of information if you need one-pagers or understanding of the Calais case, for example,
Yes.
or any of the other items that we've talked about, just in general around what's happening at the legislature, what's going on in our local governments. We push out all of that information, making sure people know about the changes, for instance, that are coming in SNAP. Starting at the beginning of May, you will no longer be able to buy certain products. And that's a change that's coming down. So we like to make sure not only people are voting, but we want you to be an informed voter as well, and
Yes.
giving you all of the tools to use your power. So you can go, as I said, to the website at powercoalition.org. You can find us on Facebook at Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. You can also find us on Instagram at Power is on the screen, Power COEJ. And then you can constantly reach out to us. You can call the offices. We have an office here in Baton Rouge and an office in New Orleans. But like I said, we have organizers all over the state, in Shreveport, in Lake Charles, in Alexandria. So we're doing this work so you can connect with us any way that you see fit.
You all heard it. Now, that's the Power Coalition. The other thing is, see, as you sit here and see this young man, he wears multiple hats, and that other one has to do with something that we definitely confront every month, and that's that energy bill. And so tell them who you are and what you do. And I just was in awe when he was at one of the community meetings and was able to give us some information that made a difference. And it was new information to me. So, you know, the more you hear it, the more it sinks in. So, yes, let them know about the other hat that you wear there.
So in my other job, since, you know, Louisiana likes to make elected officials part-time,
That's right. You better believe it. That's right.
I serve on the Louisiana Public Service Commission, so I represent the 3rd District of the Commission, which starts right here in Baton Rouge, creeps over across the river, takes in portions of West Baton Rouge all the way down into Iberville Parish, and then I kind of come back up. I take parts of Ascension. I have all of St. John, St. James, majority of St. Charles, the West Bank of Jefferson, and in the entirety of the city of New Orleans. So I have over 1 million, representing 1/5 of the state. And the Public Service Commission should be something that everybody knows, but it's been very quiet for some years. It is the body that regulates your utilities. So we regulate your water, your electricity, your gas. We also regulate pipelines. We have what's called common carriers. So if you ever get your car towed and it wasn't your request, we regulate what they can charge you and how they can keep your car. We regulate moving truck companies. So if you ever need to move and you're worried about whether or not somebody's operating in good businesses, we regulate them. And we also regulate prison phone calls. So the rate that you pay when you're calling someone, a family or a friend that's incarcerated, that is a rate that is set by the Public Service Commission.
Wow, wow, wow. That's a lot of, yeah. I thought I had, a full plate, but I believe that this is a full pan here. And so when you mention about the tow-in fees, and with the council, we just did a little something with that, with the towing and booting. And when they questioned us about our conversation about the towing And we said to them, and really it was eye-opening, was that, just as you said, you all regulate, so this is already legislation here legislated about the towing fees. And so the other thing that you told were some little tidbits that you told us that would be great for anybody if you really wanted to be efficient. Share that with
Absolutely.
the listening audience out here.
Yes. So I know everyone, when you get your Entergy or your DIMCO bill, because some people in our parish are on DIMCO, you are like, how do I save? You're always trying to figure this out. And I tell people, look, I know for a fact, I am trying to make sure I hold all of our utilities to accountable and making sure that they are giving you services that are not going to make you have to pick between your groceries and keeping the lights on. But there are some tools at your advantage that I like to tell people about, and which is making your house more energy efficient. I know that when you're changing those light bulbs and you sit there and you look at that LED light next to that fluorescent light bulb and you say, well, why would I pay that much for those lights? I will tell you,
Wow.
they save you energy. You're gonna probably save somewhere around almost $3 probably just from one light bulb on your bill, because you're going to consume less energy. So I tell people, if you can, make those energy efficient upgrades. Make sure you have LED lights. Check your installation in your ceilings and in your floors. One of the places where people lose so much is that they don't have a fully insulated home. So if you can, and you can also, we got to remember, we force Entergy to have an energy efficiency program. And now at the new rule that I passed, that 15% of all their spending has to go to people who are seniors or low income. And they will come and change those light bulbs for you. They'll fix your HVAC. If your HVAC is broken, they can do installation. And so those are tools. So you want to go to Entergy.com and you can find out their energy efficiency program. But there's also some things you can do at your own home. I like to tell people one of the things is conserve energy when you can. When you look at your bill, Louisiana actually has low rates compared to the nation. So that, like, when you see all those numbers, that decimal point and all those numbers, we're at like 42, 43, which you're saying, okay, well, if our rates are so low, how do we pay so much?
Yes.
Well, the problem is in Louisiana, we consume so much more energy than everybody else. We consume almost 30% more energy in let's say a 1,500 square home in Louisiana than a 1,500 square home in Texas. And that's typically because it's hot. So we're having to use our AC a lot more. Our heating and cooling infrastructure is on the electric grid, which means while you may consume less, you're going to pay more. Why? Because you're utilizing more energy than what is needed. So I tell people, they're not tricks. If you're at home, I would say get a smart thermostat. So that means when you're not home, you turn that thermostat up. You then can control it when you're packing up your bag and you're about to go run your errands. You turn it back down, and you will save so much money just from a smart thermostat.
Yes.
Are allowing that. Also, watch when you're washing and using your big appliances. What we like to call is peak hour. Peak hour is around 5 o'clock. That's when just everybody's probably using as much electricity as they possibly can. That's probably when you're cooking, all the lights are on because it's still going. And then if you start washing your laundry or washing your clothes or charging your electric vehicle, guess what? You're going to pay more. Why? Because it's demand pricing.
Yes.
It's the supply and demand. So I tell people, if you can, wash your clothes either late at night or early in the morning, because you're going to pay less. Because I think what a lot of people don't recognize with our electricity is you're paying the rate at the time of the demand. So, you know, you can say like, hey, look, I turned off all the lights today. I went out of town for a week and my light bill is higher than it was last month. How can it be so? Well, it may be that the time that you used it was the time that it cost the most. So even though you used less energy, you used energy at the wrong time that is the highest price. And so the highest price time for energy is around 5 to 7 o'clock. That's typically when you're using it. So if you can avoid doing major things in your house around 5 to 7 o'clock, guess what? You can lower your bill.
Wow.
These are the tricks that, quite frankly, we don't tell people. And I like to say, I don't want you just to pay your bill. I want you to be a smart energy user and recognize the power, back to power,
Yes.
the power you have in controlling your energy bill. There is some power there. Now, we got to hold the companies accountable, but there are these little things you can do. I tell people, got to remember when we first got cell phones. You remember at a certain time, you remember the rate changed. You had a weekend rate, you had a night rate.
That's right.
That's kind of how your utility bill works. They just don't tell you that.
Wow. So when you see Davante Lewis in the streets, you're going to call him the power man, the power coalition, the power at your home. So it'd be the power man. Now, I would be remiss because many folk have asked me the question that I ask about Entergy having the monopoly on the being the only gangster in town
Right.
with this here Entergy, but you explained it. But let the listening audience know
Absolutely.
how that goes.
This is the question that I get all the time, and it's the question on everybody's mind. It was the question on my mind before I became the commission. So I'm gonna give you a little brief history and then really answer the question. So the utility business really got started in the early 1900s, and around 1915, 1920. But unlike the highway system, the federal government did not give states money to build. What the federal government decided to do is incentivize private businesses to build utilities, because they said, hey, we're recognizing we're growing. And so they created what's called this regulatory compact that said, if I give you a monopoly franchise over services, you're going to be regulated, and you're going to have to make sure your services are non-discrimination, but I will give you a profit margin. And so that's how you get into this monopoly franchise of the system, is because the federal government had to incentivize private capital to make sure that people had lights and infrastructure in the early 1900s. And so now you move into this system where we have, and you say, okay, well, why can't I just choose? I get to choose my cable provider.
Yes.
I get to choose my cell phone company. And I tell people it's very different because, as we know, your internet's not regulated. Your cell phones are not regulated. Those are contracts that you make with them independently. There's some federal protections under the Federal Communications, but in terms of anything they want to do and they decide they want to raise your cell phone bill, it's their right. So one of the advantages you have in a regulated market that we exist in with a monopoly franchise is there's not a thing Entergy can build or change on your bill that does not come before the commission. While they are a private business, all those little fees you see on your bill, all the infrastructure they're building, each and every one of those have to come before the commission. Now, the commission probably hasn't been doing its job really regulating them, I think, to their fullest. But what happens in an unregulated market, so there's states like Texas, Illinois, Pennsylvania, where you can buy quote unquote electricity.
Yeah.
But the challenge that I tell people why that may not be as good as it looks and sounds is because a lot of them have these very junk plans that target Black people, target our seniors, that will say, hey, your utility bill for the first 6 months, I'll make it $40. You'll never pay more than $40. And the problem is those contracts aren't regulated by anybody. So if you go in and you sign that plan thinking your energy bill is going to be $40, and then there's a little fine print in the contract that says that on the 7th month it goes up to $200, you're stuck.
Wow.
And so because of that, I like to see this is why the regulated market is important. We saw all of our friends in Texas, you remember when they had that blackout a few years ago. One of the things happened is a lot of people were shocked that their bills started coming out and it was $3,000, $5,000, and they were wondering why, and because they were in a plan that made them buy electricity off the market. And so they were buying the real-time price, and their contract said if there's ever a constraint, you're going to pay the real-time price.
Wow.
So when everybody was trying to buy capacity to get the power back on, it shot the price up, which means when your lights came back in your home in Houston, people got a $5,000 bill. And so these are some of the pitfalls in an unregulated market. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't be doing and holding Entergy more accountable, but sometimes the grass is not greener on the other side. And those are some of the things that I tell people that when you go and you talk to friends in other states, they actually pay a lot more in an unregulated market because no one's controlling the cost. No one's saying, hey, no, you shouldn't build that project. Is that project the best project to build? Maybe you should spread that project and pay it over 15 years instead of 1 year. In the unregulated market, the utilities get to kind of operate what they want. So they could increase your bill by 200% in 1 month, and you have no recourse, where at least here, you have the Public Service Commission that can come and either freeze rates or fine the utility or do a lot of other stuff. And so it's just not as easy as it looks. It sounds great, but when you get into the details, it's really concerning of what can happen in an unregulated market.
Okay. Wow. Again, there's that big P word, knowledge is power. And so, for those of you that had that question, I believe that it has been well answered here, and just we appreciate that. So, Baton Rouge, today I got a 2-for-1 here. You got a 2-for-1. And so we're talking about the power man here, Mr. Davante Lewis. So is there anything else you want to tell the public or?
Yeah, absolutely. If you ever need anything, you can contact my office. We have an office here in Baton Rouge and an office in New Orleans, but my district staff, we travel up and down our 10 parishes. And even if you have people that are not in my 10 parishes, you can call our office. We are happy to help you if you have trouble paying your light bill and you maybe need an extension. Our office works with that. With Entergy, we also work to get funding if you are struggling to pay your bill. If you have questions about things or services needs to be done from your gas company to your water company, you can call us. We are here to help. And I like to say, you stay engaged, stay involved. I mean, a lot of people before I ran did not know what the Public Service Commission was.
That's right.
Didn't even know it existed. And we have, as you see, so much power.
Yes, indeed.
And so maybe that's why we have had all these questions about our utilities, because we haven't used our power to ensure that the people on the commission are there. There are 2 commissioners that represent East Baton Rouge Parish. I have most of downtown and South Baton Rouge. I kind of creep over, and I have Baker and Zachary and kind of around Bluebonnet, but Commissioner Kusan has the other half of East Baton Rouge, so you can reach out to both of us. We work on all things in East Baton Rouge Parish. And then just stay in tune. If you follow me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, we push out when we're taking votes. I like people to know what Entergy is asking the commission to do. And so we are always pushing out that information. And so, and if you ever have questions, you can email me at davante.lewis@la.gov. I give everybody that email, and I respond sometimes to myself, or you can call us. Councilwoman Coleman called. I remember one day you called me, you said, the lights at Southern are out, and we got an event coming up, a big game, and I got right on the phone.
Surely
and
did.
We got them lights back
Those
on,
lights
and the game went on. So if you call me, I will help and deliver for you.
Yes, indeed. And so, and I say thank you for that and for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, as we close, we want you to make sure that we want to remind you to like, to share, to subscribe to our Coleman Cares podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and want you to remember Coleman Cares.
Count on Coleman. Count on Coleman. If your world is looking strange, you can count on Coleman for change.